Welcome to Popcorn Unscripted, the podcast where we dive into movies and TV shows with no scripts, no filters, just real talk and plenty of popcorn. From timeless classics to the newest releases, it's all about real opinions and unfiltered conversation. I'm your host, Bailey, and let's grab some popcorn, sit back, and let the show begin. Alright, so welcome back to Popcorn Unscripted. Today we're stepping into a world of myth, memory, and longing as we uncover the meaning behind La Chimera. I guess is how you say that.
Chimera,
I am here. I am here with Neil Laird. Welcome, Neil. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a great film to talk about.
It really is. It's a very interesting film. I literally watched it first thing this morning, so it's the first thing I watched when I opened my eyes this morning. So just tell the audience a little bit about you and who you are and what you do.
Cool. I am a TV producer and novelist. I do nonfiction television for Discovery Channel, National Geographic, BBC, focusing mostly on the ancient world, archaeology of Egypt, Rome, Mesopotamia, that kind of stuff. So I travel a lot to that part of the world. And then recently I started writing novels, comedic time travel novels, based on my experience as a TV producer, where a sort of feckless TV crew time travels to the ancient world to win an Emmy. So
that sounds awesome. That just sounds like Doctor Who to me. I would love that.
It's very Doctor Who with a very sort of comedic. It's almost, imagine like Doctor Who meets, Galaxy Quest or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Because,
I have to check that out.
they're in way over there. They go to ancient Egypt, they go to Pompeii. Book, and they get the dates wrong. So, of course, they're stuck and they have to get out. Right now, I'm writing the third one, which is about the Trojan War at prime time.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
So they have to build a horse and things like that.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
The network wants a horse, so they must build a horse.
Oh, yeah. All right. That just sounds awesome. That's like right up my alley, not gonna lie. But what drew you to La Chimera?
Well, as you know, we spoke about other films that we could talk about, and I've spoken about Indiana Jones and Lawrence of Arabia, and these classic epics were the ones that really inspired me to love archaeology and travel and adventure. But La Chimera is is a recent film, 2023, and it's a film, Italian film, that a lot of people in the States may not know. So I'm glad you're intrigued to talk about it, because it's a little known film, and art film is very well regarded, particularly in Europe, but not so much in the States. And if I can throw some love at it. But it's a film, which we'll talk more in detail, that I went to film school, and it has a lot of my favorite directors and feeling in it. There's Pasolini and Fellini and the neorealism. So in a way, it's a compendium of Italian film in a very modern wrapping, which to me finds it very, very attractive. Plus, it's about ancient tomb robbers.
Oh, yeah. I did like... I liked how he used that stick trick that he had, because, which of course here in the States we had something similar to that. My papa would used to do it to find water and to dig a well. So I was familiar with that.
Rod or something. Yeah, exactly. It's all the kind of same thing, because it's all fantasy. And that's what's great about the film. It dips into fantasy. He is a tomb robber looking for Etruscan tombs, which is the ancient culture before Rome. Just north of Rome, an area called Tuscany and Lazio. So I was just at that area too, looking for tombs myself. So it very much resonates. Yeah. So what's great about the film is that the director weaves in fantasy and as well as reality into one, and I just dig that stuff, just like my books.
I did. I definitely found it very, very interesting, to say the least. Because only interesting because it's something I've never seen before. Especially since it's an Italian film, so it was like I was being introduced to a different culture as well. So I was being introduced to a bunch of new things. So it was just really cool to experience. As first reactions go, was there anything confusing or mesmerizing or something that resonated with you emotionally?
I mean, what I love about the film is I think it, in a way, it's purposefully oblique. It doesn't try to answer questions, because it dips into fantasy. He has a dead lover. Is she there? Is he seeing her? What happens at the end? So the director, Alice Rohrwacher, a female director from Italy, she loves to play one foot in logic and one foot in fantasy. So if you go in cold expecting answers, which you might have, if you don't know her, you might say, "What the hell just happened?" And did they get that wrong? And it's all deliberate because they wants to kind of create this parallel, this parable world.
Right.
So again, it's about a guy. Basically, in a nutshell, for those who haven't seen it, it's about a disgraced British archaeologist who, in 1980, who finds himself with a bunch of tomb robbers in Italy, sort of low-end tomb robbers, and he has a special gift for finding Etruscan tombs, and he is down and out, and he goes back to his village, where he fell in love with a woman who he don't know what happened to. We simply know that she's gone. She's probably dead. And he keeps seeing her in visions. So already we're sort of playing with the myth, almost like Orpheus, of him dipping into the ancient world in the past and the underworld and coming back. So we're playing with reality and time a lot. So in a way, to answer the question, it's supposed to be confusing at times because it's not giving you straight answers.
Right. Which it was definitely confusing for me, but as I watched more of it, I was just like, okay, I understand now. As time went on.
I'm curious. What did you think? Rather than me, I'd love to know your thoughts too when you watched it. You don't know Italian film. This is clearly not something you'd see in a cinema.
Completely different from what I've seen in my 25 years of life. Completely something different. I honestly thought it was choppy at first, but, because there's so many, time jumps in the movie, because you could see that, especially with, his hair and his facial hair, you can see that a lot of time goes by. And so I guess that's where, the confusing aspect comes in, because so much time passes, and you're just like, well, what happened during that time? What happened? But at the end of the day, the movie didn't have to explain what happened. At the same time, it didn't have to do that. So it's cinema that's wonderful.
For those who you haven't seen, and I wouldn't call this, I guess you call it art cinema over here, where it's not the traditional big Cineplex stuff. It's always frustrating at first sometimes because you're expecting to bring the logic of what we see in traditional film to it,
right?
And you recognize there's a million different ways of telling a story, and this filmmaker chose to tell it very fractured, as you say, very, very, very oblique and very curious and odd. So we don't always know exactly what's happening by design. We have to fill in the blanks, and that makes it much more challenging, but also for me much more rewarding, much richer experience.
Yes, I can agree. It was certainly a different experience to be watching at 6 o'clock in the morning. So what images or moments lingered for you after you had watched it? What was on your mind?
Well, having been to those places, because as in my experience as a TV producer, I've been in Egyptian tombs, and they opened up for the first time in 4,000 years. I've been in jungle-strewn Mayan ruins, and gone down to undergrounds, and went to Crete and saw what's left of the labyrinth. So I love that stuff, and that's my world. So clearly, there's that wonderful scene towards the end where they finally break into an unlooted Etruscan tomb, and they see all that beautiful stuff down there. My heart just skips a beat because to me that's just such a romantic fantasy to dip back into the time and see something that's been untouched for 3,500 years. I'm always fascinated by what was left. I remember when I was shooting one of my first films called The Great Sphinx, Saving the Sphinx in Egypt, and you open a small tomb at the foot of the pyramids, and it was the workers who had made the Sphinx, and they just found that they're 4,500 years old, and they just found these tombs. No one had opened them yet, and my cameraman and I were sitting there, and they're just simple beehive tombs. They weren't mummies, or there wasn't full of gold mask like King Tut. But when the archaeologist opened it, two things stuck with me, and one of them they do this in the film. When they opened it, all this hot air rushed out right past me, almost like it was singeing my eyebrow. It was hot air that had been sitting in there for 4,500 years. The same air that high priests in the Fourth Kingdom, ancient Egypt, drew their breath in when they put this guy in there. And I was breathing that same air. But then, all the more fascinating was, and they do this nicely in the film when they open the tomb, as you know, once you add modern air to essentially something that's been hermetically sealed, you just start to destroy it. So in my case, there was a bunch of small pots there next to the body, the skeleton, and they are perfectly intact when we were filming. And then we got called away for a minute for some reason. We came back 2 minutes later, and they all cracked apart. They
Oh
sat there
wow.
untouched for 4,000 years, and in 5 minutes they were destroyed because we entered the tomb. And there's a wonderful
Wow.
scene there in La Chimera, if you recall, where they open that tomb and there's all the frescoes on the wall. And there's these
Yeah.
beautiful Etruscan frescoes, and you
And
start to
they
see
go
them fade
dull.
straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So it just reminds you that archaeology, like tomb robbing, is all thievery. It's all
Mm-hmm.
destruction. It's all what you do
Mm-hmm.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I think those are the images that stuck to me mostly because that's the stuff that just drives me and impels me as a filmmaker.
Yeah, and it does make sense because there was one scene where you actually see them putting the pots and stuff back together
Mm-hmm.
after it had done broke apart. So that makes sense. I actually did not know that. That was something
Mm-hmm.
I did not know. So that's really cool. Um, I would say, where was I gonna go with my moment?
Yeah,
There was one
what
moment.
stuck with you?
Yeah, I had a thing, and then I was listening to you talk, and I lost it.
I'm
But
sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. Um, I think it's probably the tomb is what stuck with me too. The fact that he cut off, like, they broke off the head.
Oh, didn't that hurt?
It did. It was
It's
like, this is so, like,
gorgeous.
yes. And then of course I had this thing where what after I had realized that the cops were fake. They were fake
Yeah.
cops. I was just like, no, they had it right
Right.
there.
They had it right there, and
They had
the
it.
cops. You don't want to give anything away, but they were tomb robbers too, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you destroyed a
It's
perfect.
just
It's a, for those who haven't seen it, you should obviously, but it's a marble statue of the goddess Athena. Forget
yes.
symbol. Forget who it is. Perfectly untouched, and they cut the head off because they can't carry the entire thing up the hill, and
Yes.
that's
They were
that's the
gonna break
destruction
it
of
into
tomb robbers.
pieces
Yeah.
and put it back together. I was just like, you had it right there, and I was so, like, upset. I was just like, these a-holes. I was like, this is awful. But gonna get into the story and the structure of the movie. So I want to talk about Arthur's journey after prison and his search for his dead lover. Um, how do you think all of that played out there in the beginning? Because
Well,
honestly,
again,
I was
very
kind of confused a little bit. But
and
you're
purposely
supposed
so.
to
We
be.
never really know what happens. I mean, the film opens with him on a train heading to Tuscany. He's just got out of prison. We don't know for how long. We don't even know he's
Mm-hmm.
British until people mention it because if you know the accent, you recognize it. But we
Mm-hmm.
find that he got caught for tomb robbing, and then probably while he was in prison, his girlfriend back in Tuscany, Italian woman, either died or disappeared because he meet the mother who's waiting for her return too, and they're both deluded. We feel like, to me, it's not answered because we want to understand Arturo's journey, and we want to understand what's driving him to go back to this place. Because if he
Mm-hmm.
knows she's dead, why go there? And clearly, what the filmmakers are doing is they're mixing his desire to go in the past to go into his own past.
Right.
So, by excavating and by looking into something that's lost underground, then, maybe he will find traces of his lost loved one as well. It's the old
Mm-hmm.
Orpheus story where, dies Orpheus and goes looking for his lover in the underworld and that kind of stuff. So I think it plays out in, as I mentioned, a very fractured way because it doesn't want to answer all those questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be patient with a film like this
Mm-hmm.
because it will come to you, like you say, but it's not going to give you the one-on-one on Arturo's motivations
Mm-hmm.
and what he plans to do for the next 3 months unless you glean it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can agree. Especially there at the end, I'm kind of fuzzy on kind of what happens, like how he gets into that dark tunnel. I'm kind
At
of
the very end.
like, yes, at the very end,
Right.
where he finds the red string.
Right.
So he starts pulling on it, and then all of a sudden he's there with her,
Right.
and it's like, how? But you're not supposed
Again,
to know how.
he's not supposed to know how. You have to determine
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Is he dead and is he meeting her in the next life? Is he
Yeah.
fantasizing while the tomb is being caved in, or is it all
Mm-hmm.
just a delusion?
Okay, so
Hallucination?
that's what happens. Okay.
I
That
mean,
makes sense.
my thinking is, spoiler alert to anyone who's going to watch it, that he's caved in, he's lost in this tomb, and he finally sees his loved one on the other side. He
Mm-hmm.
follows that thread, and it takes him to the underworld. Now, that's
Mm-hmm.
probably too literal. I would say if the
Probably.
filmmaker was listening,
Yeah.
she would say, "Oh, it's too on the nose." I think it's not meant to have an answer.
Right.
It leaves these impressions for you to sit there like we're doing and discuss it and talk about it
Yes. You
and
can
say, "What
have
do you
your
think?
own
What do you think?"
interpretation. Yeah.
And they're all
Your own
probably right.
interpretation.
They're all
It's
probably right.
it's just like paintings in a way. Like you
Yeah.
have a different interpretation whatever you're looking at, and that's this movie. It's like you can look at it in so many different ways. Like you can be like there's like emotional things, there's like a lot of different images and stuff. Like there's a lot of different things that play into this movie that can resonate with anybody that watches it. And I think that's really
and be
cool.
read in very different ways. Yes, nicely
Exactly.
put. Nicely put.
Mhm,
Because any
mhm.
painting is subjective.
Yes.
And while I'm sure the filmmaker has her own ideas, I don't think she's trying to be so prescriptive. She wants us to follow her ideas. By
Mhm.
leaving it there, you can think that
Mhm.
we don't even know if he was set up and they caved the tomb in on him on purpose or if
Mhm.
it was a cave in. All that stuff is left up to interpretation. And I like
Mhm.
that because a film like this, since it already has a toe sort of in fantasy and in the fact that he has a divining rod and can find Etruscan tombs is already a feat of fantasy. So if you believe that, then you recognize we're not going to stick to a linear, logical,
Mhm.
reality-based story. So
Mhm.
anything could happen, and in many cases, we have to determine ourselves if it
Mhm.
happened for real or in his head.
Yeah, that's very true. It's like you can look at it both ways. Like he could have been dreaming the entire time and then, and
Yeah,
then he had to find his way to her, uh or maybe it was literal and he ended up dying in a cave in and then it
right.
just ended up,
I like your first answer better because it does feel less literal. It feels more sort of satisfying in a way where
like he goes on his own journey. Yeah.
whatever it is, he found his lost love at the end. It doesn't have to be in
Mhm.
death. It's just something that he's been pulling at the string, looking for something,
Mhm.
and a moment of terror or the moment of being alone, somehow she's there for him.
Yeah.
And
And that's
that's so
been
in
in
a way, it's
every
a happy
single
ending.
Yeah, and that's been in every single vision that he's had is that red string.
Yes, yeah.
Is
A
that
red
red
string
string off of her
string
dress.
is yes, like stuck in the earth, and he's pulling it. Once again, it's like we're tethered to the earth. We're tethered to our
Mhm.
ancestors. We're tethered
Mhm.
to the ground beneath our feet. And particularly in a place like Italy, think about it. They've had culture. They talk about the Etruscans, which are pre-Roman. Then you have ancient Rome and the Renaissance. I mean, so many people have tread over every spot of land in Italy that you are
Mhm.
always walking on ancestors. You're always walking on a legacy. You're always
Mhm.
walking on somebody else's history. So
Mhm.
a string could lead you all the way back to Caesar or before or whatever. You
Oh
just don't know
yeah.
where it's going to go in a land like that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. And it's actually neat that you say that because my grandparents a few years ago had got to go to Italy because my Papa John is what I call him. He's Italian. So I kind of like I'm not biologically related to him, but
hmm
I still have that connection because he is Italian. So it was kind of
cool.
a neat connection. Um, let's see. So I want to talk about specifically the tomb raiding subplot. So what about crime versus yearning for connection? So what are your thoughts about that?
How do you mean? Can you clarify that a bit?
Um, so basically you have like the tomb raiding, you have like I guess sort of like the front of it being tomb raiding
hmm
and it being like criminal to do such things. But then you also have the other thing that's happening with Arthur and he's trying to find his lost love. So I guess it's crime versus connection.
Yeah, and they're both seekers in a way. You think about it. I mean, what's
Mhm.
interesting is the filmmaker never really um, judges the Tomb Raiders.
That's
These
true.
are people that are showing it. We're horrified when you see this statue being ripped apart, but she doesn't demonize them. These are people that are hard scrabble. That are one guy says are all just a drop in the ocean will be forgotten.
Mhm.
So these are people that are down and out in a very rough, poor part of Italy, and this is what they have to do to eke out an existence. And
Mhm.
so they're seeking too. He's doing that because he's down and out, but he's off the game a bit because he's seeking his lost love and trying to understand
Mhm.
where he stands. He's
Mhm.
lost. He's physically and emotionally lost the entire film. We
Mhm.
assume, we know nothing about his background. I mean, they say he was a fallen archaeologist, which
Mhm.
means he had a degree and he studied. But here he is now doing the exact opposite of what an archaeologist does, theoretically, which is steal stuff and don't send it to museums, and it goes to rich people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the antithesis of a scientist. And yet he still does it because at this point, I think he's given up on the world. And the only thing that matters is something that everybody else around him knows but him. His girlfriend's
Mm-hmm.
dead. She's gone. They say that you're not coming back, but he's still seeking her. So I think those two things come together because they're both about his yearning. They're both about him
It
trying to
is.
understand his place. And we're trying to find something.
I
And
agree.
if it's not what he sees in front of him, maybe it's underground or maybe it's in the past. All these sort of abstract ways of looking at some sort of foundation for himself.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I did have a thought, but I've lost it again. I tend to do that a lot. Let's see, what was I gonna say? It might come to me when I'm not trying to think about it. So how does the film balance realism with dreamlike sequences?
Well, we talked about that. It very much does
We
a
did.
lovely dance. And in the filmmaker's other films, she does several films. I just rewatched another one of hers called Happy as Lazaro, I think it's called. It's on
Okay.
Netflix right now. And also it deals sort of almost the Lazarus myth. And it also
Okay.
also in a small village in Italy, I think near Milan. I can't remember the big city. Um, but she likes to have these worlds. That's why I mentioned there's a lot of filmmakers in the past, and you may not be familiar with them. There was a very famous one called Pasolini in the 60s. And he made a bunch of films based on classic medieval works like the Canterbury Tales and the Decameron and Arabian Nights. But even he did one on Jesus, on the
I think I've heard of
Apostles.
the Arabian Nights one.
Yeah,
Maybe.
they're very famous in their day. I don't know if you can find them easily today. They're very earthy and they're very sort of baldy and 1 foot in reality, 1 foot in fantasy. And I can only imagine the filmmaker being Italian was inspired by that too. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also Fellini too. I don't know if you know who Federico Fellini was, one of the greatest filmmakers, and his was always this sense of the grotesque, the sense of life as a circus, and everything is performative. If you recall, when he first get there, when you first meet the tomb robbers,
Mm-hmm.
she always liked to keep you off your game. When you first meet them, how do you remember how you see them?
Mm-hmm.
When they first meet them, they're all in drag and they're all wearing makeup.
Yes.
All of these kind of rough and tumble looking, uh,
And he's
Tuscan
the only one
men.
that's not in that.
Yeah, and you're wondering what the hell are they? Are they a bunch of transsexual tomb robbers? Which is fine, but no, it's the festival. It's the Epiphany Festival, some Catholic festival, and they do dress up as women that day, and that's just happened to be the day they're there. But I love the way you walk in, and no one explains it. We have to just kind of go with it. There's guys sitting there talking
Mm-hmm.
about wanting to rob a tomb, and they're all in grubby costumes, but they all have kind of makeup and rouge on. That
Yeah.
sense of it throws you off. It purposely
did.
throws you
It
off.
did.
Where it's like,
It
are
did.
we in reality? Is this his fantasy? It keeps you sort of guessing on like just how much we're seeing is in Arturo's head and how much is she playing with it. She also plays with film stock. She speeds stuff up at times. She
Yes, I
uses
noticed
16
that.
millimeter and
Mm-hmm.
35 millimeter,
Mm-hmm.
almost like an archaeological dig of filmmaking too. You think of goes back to Charlie Chaplin, and the 16 millimeters is very rugged and
Yes.
very independent.
Yes.
So she's playing even with your sense of understanding and foundation of cinema language.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just time. She is taking all of these seemingly disparate elements of cinema, as we know, from
Mm-hmm.
old timey fast motion
Uh-huh.
to, which is very corny on purpose, to suddenly going to 16 millimeter, very vague with the birds flying and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then going back to beautiful 70 millimeter, whatever she shot the film in. And
Mm-hmm.
all that blends together without explanation. So it
Mm-hmm.
always keeps you off your game as a viewer.
Yes.
You never know what to believe, and that's
Yes.
okay. So you have to just kind of go with it. You got to drink it in and just
Yes.
make your own observations and your own conclusions.
Yes. I can agree. There was one thing that I wanted to talk about. I just remembered. I wonder why he threw the statue head into the ocean. Is what I wonder.
It's a good question and good to it's something probably everyone have a different opinion on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how people listen to this if you're giving too many spoilers away or it's just
No,
us
you're
talking.
good.
But
It's
okay.
been out for 2 years, so
That's true. But yeah, that's true. If they're going to see it, they're going to see it.
they're good as
I mean,
yeah.
the argument. What did he say? He says you're too good for the.
It's
Says,
something that somebody else
I
said.
should look at you or something.
Like,
Yeah, he
it's-
repeated something.
Yeah, it said, crap. You're
It
not
was
for,
you're not for you're too
yeah,
good for our eyes or
yes,
something tantamount to that,
something
right?
along
Right.
those lines. Yeah.
So again, do we ask is this Benjamina? I think is his dead girlfriend's name. Is he looking at her thinking she's now part of the earth, or is he so sick of all these squabbling, greedy people from the Tumarabi or whatever their name are to the rich
Mm-hmm.
woman who's buying it? Everyone's at their most base. So he probably looks at this statue who's been ripped. She's been decapitated,
Yeah.
and he wants to give her over for money to these people so they can get a few
Mm-hmm.
beers later on. So in a
Mm-hmm.
way, maybe he's just sick of it all. He's just basically saying you should be hidden under the sea. You should be hidden somewhere where humans can't look at you, where you're not going to be exploited and seen as a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take as it. That could be right or wrong, and I don't think there's actually any right or wrong answer. I mean, it's one of those things that it's hard to believe he would do because
Mm-hmm.
obviously he's down on his
I mean,
luck
I
and he
was
could use the
shocked.
cash. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. When I first saw it the first time, when I saw it the second or third time, I knew it was coming. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I get it.
he's sick of everybody. He's sick of the whole thing, and this woman is awful. The buyer, so he just doesn't think he thinks the statue's better than these people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always
And
think like, well, she's a
yeah.
rich woman. She'll just go diving and get it later. Because remember, she has a
Yeah.
smile on her face. So
If
it's
she
like,
remembers where it is specifically.
well, they're anchored. They're anchored.
Oh, that's
all
true.
all they gotta
That's
do is
true.
go to the pilot and tell me what are your coordinates.
Yeah. That's
It
true.
would be easy to get someone down there. So yeah, if you want to get it
Mm-hmm.
back, but in a way, I don't think you should be thinking that rationally. It's all about Arturo's journey and trying to understand where he is, and we don't really know at the end because it leaves you hanging. But he
Mm-hmm.
did that. I mean, that's a very big change for him. Where maybe finally has a come to Jesus, and he
Mm-hmm.
recognizes, oh my God. Yet then he goes back to tomb robbing a few
Yeah,
scenes
and then
later.
it's
So
like,
it doesn't stick.
yeah, obviously not.
Yeah.
But the way I took it is like when he was looking at the face of that statue, he saw his lover. And I took it as a way of him, like, letting her go. Or at least that's what I initially thought.
Mhm.
But obviously not.
No,
Because he
I
ends
think
up.
that answer is just as good as mine because it was he could rob some other tomb, but there he let this beautiful statue
Mm-hmm.
woman that is like his long lost love go. I think your answer is might be the right one. I don't know.
I
Again, I don't
don't
think
know.
there's any right or wrong, but it's like I think that's just as wise answer as any other. It's like, yeah, he's looking to face of beauty, and all he can think about is his
His
lost love.
lover.
Let's put
Mm-hmm.
her back where she can't be exploited.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because you don't have the head, but you have the body being exploited.
Yeah, a
So,
feminist would have something to say about
yes,
that.
yes, they would. Luckily, I am not a feminist, so I don't have much to say about it. But I
But it's a
thought
good
that
point. It's like,
yeah, it's a good point because it's like
yeah.
you don't have the head of the woman, but you have her body.
Yeah, you get to see her lovely figure, and if you've been to you walk around. I'm going back to Athens next week to finish my book, and one of
Ooh,
my favorite
awesome.
museums there is the Acropolis Museum,
Mhm.
and all these gorgeous statues that came from the Parthenon and stuff, beautiful marble statue of the Greek gods and stuff, and half of them have no heads because either were taken away for that reason, stolen, or they broke in time because necks are more
Mhm.
fragile than bodies. But you can still admire the gorgeous marble
Mhm.
because it's decapitated doesn't mean it's no longer valuable. So
Mhm.
artistically you can look at something like that and still appreciate
Mhm.
the talent behind it.
Yes.
The head just makes it complete.
Mhm. That's true. That is very, very true. Um. So we kind of brushed on this a little bit, but did the fragmented structure enhance or make the movie more confusing?
I mean,
Because I did mention earlier that it was a
yeah.
bit choppy, so that's what it's
Yeah.
kind of referring to.
Yeah, and of course, I think that's a personal experience, like your painting reference, which was so nicely
Mhm.
said. I think it all depends on the eye of the beholder.
Mhm.
It is choppy, but it's on purpose. She certainly knows because again, she's playing with different film stock. She's playing with time, as you said. She's not giving you answers to things that we basically. So she wants to keep us off our game.
Right.
So it's not like it was sloppily edited, or it's not like she didn't have the right footage. She chose.
It was
to make this-
intentional.
It was
Mhm.
intentional, right? So I mean, I ask you, it's like you got used to it, or did it frustrate you all the way through this
I
story?
think I ended up getting used to it. because as I was laying there watching it, I was just kind of like just watching it play out. You know, I was like, yeah, yes, I'm confused, but I want to see how this goes. You know, I want to see where this goes. So, but yeah.
Let me ask you this: if you weren't talking about it tonight, would you have finished it?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I tried to watch it one night, when I had gotten home one Sunday evening or Wednesday evening, and I had watched like maybe the first 25 minutes of it, but I was like really dead tired, and I had the subtitles on because obviously I don't speak Italian.
Nor do I. Yeah.
So it's like that with anime. Like I have to be paying attention and watching the words at the same time. And when I read...
More of a commitment. It's more of a commitment.
Yes, it's more of a commitment. And that's why I don't watch anime either.
Right.
Or any of that kind of stuff. Because that takes time for me. But, yeah, it took commitment. And I was just like, I can't watch this tonight. Like, reading makes me tired.
You gotta be sharp, yeah.
Yeah.
I watch so many foreign films that I'm used to it. It's instinctive for me. It's something you learn. I know my friends say, oh, it's too much work. You'll find if you watch enough of them after a while, it's not work at all. It's actually just becomes natural. So it's practice.
Yeah. So, and since I haven't been exposed to this is like the first, kind of the first
Well, I'm
thing.
glad I can, for better or worse, I'm glad I can dip you into this world. And,
it's very interesting. I need to find more films like this, for sure. For sure. Do you have a favorite sequence that you want to unpack? I know we talked about several different places of the movie, but I want to know something that you want to talk about specifically.
We talk about that ending, which is wonderfully, left open. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's his whole relationship with the quote-unquote, fledgling opera singer and the mother is a subplot. But I love that. And a lot of people think, well, that just takes you away from the tomb robbers. But there's something so intriguing about these people. They're just sort of leftover people, marginalized people, that I was fascinated that they all come together, that none of them should be together. So in a way, I almost wish there was another film just of them, of Isabel Rossellini, who plays the older woman. And then the younger woman is a Brazilian actress named Italiana, which is strange. So obviously she's playing with all this kind of stuff.
That's
was her
interesting.
name Italia? Yeah, she's a Brazilian,
I think so,
right? Yeah. You wouldn't know it because you're reading subtitles, but the actress is Brazilian. And Isabel Rossellini, I don't know how well you know your film, but her mother was Ingrid Bergman, who was one of the great filmmakers of Casablanca and stuff of the 40s and 50s.
I know Casablanca, yeah.
Yeah, and she was the lead in that. So Isabel Rossellini, who is known for like Blue Velvet and stuff today, Rossellini, who she married, was the king of the neo-realist filmmakers. Neo-realism was a genre of Italian filmmaking after the war. Okay. And it was all about that, a wonderful one called A Trip to Italy, I think it was called, and Rome, Open City. These films that used non-professional actors, they plunged you into Rome, they plunged you into Venice or whatever, and you saw life as being lived. They kind of shot on the streets. So those scenes with Rossellini, I'm sure there's no irony of her being in a film that her father kind of created the genre back in the 50s, because those had this very earthy feeling. They're sort of, again, these people that are marginalized from society and they're all a bit lost. She's living in that crumbling palazzo, that palace, and everything is very time-worn from another era. They're relics, just like what he's looking for. She's a relic, as is Arturo, because he's not going to be an archaeologist again. So again, you're playing all this stuff I mentioned is. You don't have to know neo-realism or Italian realism or Pasolini to enjoy the film. But certainly I think if you come with that understanding, you recognize a lot where she's borrowing or being inspired from. It's a very Italian film. This film is very Italian.
I definitely got that feel from it. Not just because everybody's speaking Italian, but I mean all of the...
And it's in Italy, yeah.
Yeah, and it's in Italy. But it's like all of the places... Like all of the different places that were filmed just felt like it just screamed Italy, And
it's, because it's ancient. It was a village. And what's funny, it shows you what a geek I am. A good friend of mine who's does TV archaeology. We did a bunch of films in Egypt together. And she's Miss Pompeii. She makes all the Pompeii films for BBC.
Oh, cool.
And we both had a couple weeks off between gigs in May. And he said, where do you want to go? And she goes, well, I'm here in Italy, where she's from, visiting my mother. One area I've never been to is Lazio, which is that region where it was shot.
Mm-hmm.
And we went on a pilgrimage looking for where they shot that film. We literally spent an
Really?
entire day trying to find where Arturo's house was. Which total geeks. Like, when people come to New York City, where I live, they want to go see like where the exterior of Friends or Sex in the City was shot.
Uh-huh.
We're looking for like some hut where some obscure Italian film was shot 4 years ago. We're talking locals. Oh yeah, I was in that. Go down here. We couldn't find it. We went through all these tombs with spiders following things around.
Oh my goodness.
It was great fun. It was so much fun.
Oh, it just sounds so cool to go and look for all of those locations. And there is some people that do that for movies. Well, they'll have like an image from a movie, and they'll like line the shot up like perfect to where like the buildings and stuff were. I think those kinds of things are cool. But
that's what we did to do with Arturo's house. Was hard to find because of course they tear it all down even in the film. So we had a photo from a picture grab from the film. And we're literally looking. We knew it was on a rampart along a wall. And there's all these medieval villages, and we're asking people. I think it might be up there. We finally, after 4 or 5 hours of riding around, finally was able to spot it. But of course, it was 5 or 6 years ago. It's overgrown. The set's been torn down. It looks nothing like it did. The only thing we recognized was the wall had a jutty part to it. Anyways, it's like we totally geeked out on it.
Oh man, that sounds just so cool. Yeah, that just blows my mind. All this kind of stuff just blows my mind. Which, of course, I grew up with Raiders of the Lost Ark. I grew up with all the Indiana Jones stuff. So it's cool to see a movie like outside of that, and actually.
And of course,
see
we talked about that.
Stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana Jones we could talk about too, but I think others have already done that, and it's like it's great. We're talking about something that people maybe less familiar with.
Mm-hmm. It's something I haven't seen.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone Indiana Jones always talk about the Last Crusade, where they show up in Petra and you turn the corner and you see the treasury. And I know so many people who said, I want to go to Petra in Jordan because I saw that one shot in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And that's what drove them to this ancient site on the other side of the world. That's great. Anything that gets you out of the house and gets you to travel is all good.
Oh, yeah. Which, now I'm going to be one of the people, I'm going to go find the movie sets from this movie.
Exactly. It's good fun.
It is. And there's one more thing I want to talk about, is I want to talk about Arthur's relationship with his lover's mother, and then him, like, falling in love with with
Italia, the Brazilian woman, yeah.
Yes. Right. So it was almost like he was forcing himself to move on because his head was so cloudy because he had just lost his lover. To me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to... I'm not sure if he was forcing or he was reluctant, because obviously she was very keen on him.
Or both.
Yeah, and they're both kind of, again, lost souls. And I thought it was interesting. And one thing that I didn't quite believe, and maybe it worked, and here's the thing, and I think, is it a flaw or is it just a trope? I love the scene where she realizes what they're doing and she's horrified. She's a very Christian woman, and she believes in giving peace to the dead. And when she finds out that he's part of these tomb robbers, she leaves him in abject disgust, and we think she calls the cops. And yet, a few scenes later, they reconcile. I don't buy that as easily. It's a movie. It's a movie moment.
But if you think about it, a lot of time had passed as well.
True.
And he, like, even her daughter was just like, you're gonna have to clean yourself up if you're gonna see my mama.
I love that, because that means mama likes you. Exactly. It's nice, yeah.
It's like she knew. And I also found it interesting that she was hiding both of her kids the entire time she was there.
Yeah.
But her family could hear the baby.
Last?
Yeah,
well, maybe Rossellini's character couldn't, because maybe she's older and deaf, or she didn't care.
Right.
I mean, she was a very sympathetic character if she was batshit crazy,
That makes me wonder. That makes me wonder if her daughters had kind of forced her to relieve her of her duties, rather than be understanding and being like, okay, yeah, I have room for them too, obviously. So
remember, she said something like, "That's what babies do," or whatever. She was sort of nonchalant about it all, and then but she was kind of using the woman, saying she's going to teach her opera, when really she was just cooking and cleaning and everything else. So she wasn't totally free of exploitation.
She wasn't totally a saint with that.
Yeah, exactly. But what I think it's, again, would, and what's very interesting too, another scene which I love your thoughts on is they finally do have a romantic moment, Italia
Yes.
and Arturo, where they finally, we assume they hook up and they make love. They should wake up in bed the next day. And it seems a perfect ending in a Hollywood way. And yet he goes, gets up and leaves her and goes back to tomb robbing. Why do you think
Mm-hmm.
he did that?
That's an interesting thought. It's like he wanted to have that life, but he knew he couldn't because he had this gift. And it almost, I guess it felt like to him he may have had an obligation.
Hmm.
Maybe? That's where
Maybe, yeah.
that's where my head's going. Is that he's
That-
like, I can't have this because this is an obligation. Like, I have this gift, so this is the thing I have to do. And I know she doesn't like it.
right. So we can't have both, right?
Can't have both. So he
And
made a choice.
it's clearly a choice because we assume whether he survives that caveman or
Mm-hmm.
not, he's probably not coming back. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that he is convinced somehow he's tied in tomb raiding with his lost woman, his lost
Mm-hmm.
love, and so he has to go back, keep looking for her. He's abstractly looking for her. He's not actually
Right.
hoping to find her body or something, in a 3,000-year-old tomb. But there's something about as long as he's looking, he's somehow closer to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think both their answers are equally valid, and maybe once again there is no answer. But it
Yeah.
is it's sad to see him get up, and I knew he was going to get up anyways. I don't know about you. I
Yeah.
knew they're not going to give it that happy ending because
Yeah.
he's not a happy guy.
Right. And it's almost like he didn't want to give up her either. He didn't want to give up his lost lover either.
Exactly, precisely. That's what I was trying to say. Exactly right. It's like he whatever his quest is now, somehow for whatever reason he's wrapped it into his quest.
And
Trying to
another
find
thought
and make
is
sense.
too, it's like, yes, he loved Italia, but at the same time, he knew he couldn't love her like he loved his other lover,
Right.
his former lover. Like, he knew
Yeah.
he couldn't love her as much as he loved the other one.
Which is a shame
So,
because obviously, yeah, it's like he couldn't move on. If she really is dead, it seems like she
mm-hmm,
is. He should move on, but obviously he
mm-hmm.
can't. He's defeated, and he like those relics. He's lost in the past, and he can't shake it.
And it's also, we know that he was in prison there for a while too, but we also don't know how long he was there. Like,
Exactly.
so he was just there, just kind of stewing in those emotions. And so I think that's maybe why he was kind of like foggy headed throughout the entire film, because he had sat in those emotions, and now that he's out, he doesn't know how to deal with them.
It's a good point because you figure if he really believed she was alive, he'd be looking for her, and at
Yes.
no point is he looking for her.
Yes.
He and Rossellini say, "Oh, she'll come back." Or the mother says that because she's deluded too.
Mm-hmm.
But his motive isn't to find her, which means he must know in his heart of hearts that she's dead, or
Right.
certainly not coming back. But something drew her back to the hometown and her mother's house because that's the place that he thinks he'll find some answers.
Right. So it's almost like his lover like brought him back there to have all of that experience to lead him to her. Does that
To
make
lead to
sense?
Italia, to lead you to her. You mean she's trying to beckon him back to find it? Yeah,
Yes.
that could be why he does it. I mean, you're right, and it dovetails what you're saying about he has a gift. The
Mm-hmm.
gift may not just be this divining rod that can help find the trusted
Right.
tunes. It could also be I'm going to use my singular gift
Mm-hmm.
to find my lost love,
Mm-hmm.
just like that lost treasure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll move on to the actual characters and performances. So Josh O'Connor is the guy that plays Arthur. How does he anchor the film?
I mean, I never seen him before, but I now see him everywhere. He's in like 3 or 4 films. He's in Challengers, and he's in something now, a gay love story with who's the guy from Gladiator 2. I think it's just going to be in Netflix. I mean, he's everywhere right now, working really hard. And he's got that hangdog look. He doesn't have the
Mm-hmm.
matinee looks. There's something about him that seems very. He's always wearing
Yeah.
that tweedy white
Mm-hmm.
suit coat that we watch
Suit.
get dirtier
Mm-hmm.
and dirtier as it goes on. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was great in the role because he's a cipher. We don't know exactly what's going on in his head, like you just
Right.
said. And O'Connor's performance is purposely vague and There's
Right.
no real moment of great warmth. There's no moment of revelation. He kind of plays it cloudy, like you
Right.
say.
Right. I agree. Which this is the first thing I've watched I've watched of his. So this is my
Yeah,
first
Google it.
introduction.
He's now. It's that's one of his first films, but you got to
Okay.
see more of him because like 3 or 4 big films of him coming out in the next year or two.
Now you have
He
me
is. He
wonder
is.
who the Gladiator 2 person is, because I did watch that movie.
It was the younger one. It wasn't the one Pedro. It was
It wasn't
Paul
Pedro.
Pascal. It was Paul Pascal, I think his name.
Paul
British
Mescal.
Pascal. Yes, it was him.
Mescal.
And
Yeah.
I think it's just going to pop up on Netflix like this week. I
Okay.
haven't seen this other trailer for it. I think it takes place in World War II, and there are 2 lovers that are separated. But he's much more attractive, and he's much more, it's a romantic film.
Defined.
So obviously, he's not wearing this tweedy, nasty jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought he was wonderful.
That's
in a way.
actually pretty
And-
cool. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. So I want to talk about the supporting characters of this movie, because you have Flora and Natalia, and then you have the grave robbers themselves, the Tomberoli.
Tom Baroli, right? Thank you. I forgot that word, yeah.
Yes. So how do you think all of those kind of supported the story of Arthur trying to find whatever he was trying to find, whether it be closure or his lost lover? I think he was looking for all kinds of stuff. But
yeah, I think he was. I don't think there's any one answer. I think they may have been the magnet that was pulling away from that, because in a way they were enticed. Remember the very first thing when he gets into the train station is his tomb robber buddy who's trying to say, "Come on, let's get back in action right away," and he doesn't want anything to do with it because they left him. They let him get. He got caught on the job, and he went to prison, and everybody else ran away.
I had a light bulb.
Okay, go.
So his friends betrayed him first, and then he ends up betraying them by throwing the head into the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
It came full
he's
circle.
brooding the entire time. It's like he's coming back. He doesn't want to deal with these people, but he also recognizes he's no other options, and he's doing it probably from what we were talking about, not because he wants to hang with his tomb robbing buddies, because he has this other mission, which is his dead girlfriend,
right?
Or trying to have closure. Maybe it's closure. I hate that word closure because it's something that people always talk about when you're messed up. What you need is a bit of closure. It's too easy a word, but there's something there. So they're on different quests.
Yes,
they are clearly on a quest just to make some cash again, which is why they're fine with And he is no longer by the end interested in that, and he's so shell shocked by the death of his girlfriend. And I think the character. I mean, we'll talk about Flora. Is that Rossellini's character's name?
Flora.
Yeah, and because she's this magnet on the other side too, where here's his dead girlfriend's mother that sees him as this sort of returning saint, and everybody else knows he's not. She doesn't care, so she's trying to find an answer to her daughter in him too. These two need each other. They're both lost. They're both deep in mourning, and these two people that otherwise wouldn't be together. What brought them together is not there anymore, and they're both hoping the other can give them some sort of salvation. And I think that's the draw. That's the dynamic between what he would normally do, hang out with these betraying tomb robbers, or just leave. Because I kept thinking, get the hell out. Just get the hell out. Don't go back to that town. The last thing you want to do is, of course, if you see it as a crime film, what's the first thing they do when they got out of prison? And they get picked up and go right back to a life of crime.
Right.
This is taking that trope.
Yes, I agree. So did the cast as a whole feel naturalistic, surreal, or maybe both?
I think both. I think if you go back and you look at some of these earlier filmmakers like this, Pasolini or some of these neorealists, they would get non-traditional actors, unprofessional actors, to play them. And they go for faces. Fellini always loved these kind of crusty, odd-looking faces. And I think the filmmaker cast pretty wisely because they're a motley-looking crew. These are, they look like the kind of people that you would see on the streets of a small village in northern Italy. And they've just got, they're very lived-in faces. But yet, once again, a la Fellini and his makeup and his life as a circus, the first time we really meet them, they're wearing all this rouge and makeup. Right. They throw you off right away. So she doesn't want us to be comfortable with any one answer. And why he why does he forgive them if they really ran away? They did save his loot and give it to
Mm-hmm.
him, but he was about to beat them up for it. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see the tension there. There's a lot of tension here. And it doesn't go in those places where you see some sort of comeuppance between them, which I like. It's not this
Mm-hmm.
kind of action film where it comes down to, give me my loot or I'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
It's more psychological and it's more, fragile than that.
Okay. And I did have one other thought. What do you think the significance of the bell was?
Well, I think the bell, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it come from the tomb of a baby?
It did.
So
Or some-
certainly,
Yeah. Came from some sort of tomb.
let me hear your thought first, because obviously the bell must have left an impression on you.
I don't know. It's just something that kind of came to my mind because she said, because he didn't know what it was at first until she said, "Oh, this is a bell," because my mistress calls me with a bell all the time. So
I don't know if
I
he was
don't
struggling
know.
for the word, or was he trying to be coy and not tell her where he got it?
Right. Or,
He probably
yeah.
knows an Etruscan bell when he sees it. My thinking is he didn't want to reveal that came from a baby's crypt.
Right. Right.
Which is how they did it, having been in these Etruscan tombs. Just like the Egyptians or others, they put all their favorite stuff in the tombs so they could play in eternity.
Mm-hmm.
So this bell was probably left next to an infant who had died in infancy.
Mm-hmm.
And when she sees that, that's what sets her off at Italia when she sees the bell. Oh
She
my
thought
God,
about
you
her
gave me that.
kids.
She thought about her kids. She's got 2 kids, and you are stealing the souls of kids. This dead baby won't have his toy anymore for eternity because you want to sell it for €50 on the black market or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly. She has 2 kids, and she's totally related to that world. And here you are disturbing the dead for what reason? Remember
And
that
then-
interesting. Go
And
on.
then that was also his first gift to her as well.
Right. Yeah.
So you have that.
Before she knew what.
Before she knew what he did.
Yeah, well, it was origin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that wonderful scene in the train a bit later where it's a dream sequence, we think, where all the people from the first scene come back and they say, have you seen a bell? Have you seen
Yes.
X? And it's like all this important stuff that they're took for eternity that we know Arturo and his thieves took. Because they are stuck
made that
forever
connection
in the
immediately.
underworld.
Yep.
And yet, he for a few bucks, and he sold it to some rich lady on a boat.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's very true. Words for a second. Which character did you connect with the most?
Oh, it's a good question. I guess there are moments where all of them I could connect with because I understand, being lost and trying to find your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, it's Arturo's story, and I say I probably connect with him most because of my love of archaeology,
Right.
my love of the past, my reverence of the past, like he would
Right.
seem he had.
Mm-hmm.
And we're horrified. I'm horrified by watching this desecration. But when he throws it into the sea, that head, it's a moment of I'm on his side too.
Yeah.
I'd rather go back to the sea and let Poseidon deal with it
Mm-hmm.
than you let these cretins of the modern world destroy it. So, I couldn't tap into his emotion, with a lost love or in some of the abstract stuff. But I felt for him because he was a guy that was totally lost in time, literally and figuratively. And I think I've been there too. There's got to be. I'm certain a psychologist could look at me and say, "Why are you always chasing Egyptian mummies? Get a real job." But
Right.
I'm most excited when I'm standing in front of a denuded landscape of ruins that are 3,000 years old. That's my happy place. Why? I don't know.
See, and it's funny that you mention all of that because I just thought about my boyfriend. He was like, "That's on my bucket list is to go visit one of the Egyptian tombs or visit the pyramids or something." Like
Oh,
he was
you should.
He's like, if they crack one open, I want to be the first one in.
Well, you
That's
can
what he
tell him you
says.
talked to a guy tonight who
I
done
will.
this.
I will. I've been hyping you up all week, or last week and this week. Unfortunately, last week I had gotten sick. I had the
Oh, is
COVID
that why
last
you
week.
delayed? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, did
I
you?
had
Oh.
COVID. I just did not
Another
feel
reason
good that
why
day.
you shouldn't be watching an Italian art film, when you have COVID. I guess.
Yeah.
You're forgiven.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go to the themes and takeaways. We kind of talked about most of this,
Yeah.
but we'll kind of just briefly go through this. So you have grief and longing in this movie, and you have Arthur's obsession with his lover.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, like, yeah, so it's like, I don't really sure I relate to that, but, I do get that foggy headedness a lot.
We do that,
where
yeah.
it's just like, I don't know what to do. Somebody tell me what to do.
Right.
Which, and now that I'm thinking about it, he was like, he wanted a direction to go in. It's like he didn't want to go down this deep dark hole that he's trying to pull himself out of. But it's almost like, yes, yeah. And it's like, but he gets pulled down into it anyway.
Right.
So it's
and
like,
himself, if he's putting his faith in these two women, Flora and Italia, then they're not going to help him either because they've got their own problems.
Right.
So so he probably is looking for some sort of help, and he's not going to get it in this small town, which is maybe why the ending is the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. And so, what does the Chimera represent to you?
Well, the Chimera in Greek mythology is a beast that has multiple pieces from different animals. Traditionally, a chimera is a monster from ancient Greek mythology, I'm not sure if I might get this right, but the head of a lion and the body of a crocodile or whatever the hell it is. So a chimera is really already alchemy and fantasy. So today, when someone says it's a chimera, it means it's sort of a crazy fantasy. So there's the answer to the whole film. A chimera it's not a term people use too much at the moment here, at least in English, but la chimera means the fantasy in a way. Mm-hmm. And it's Arturo's fantasy. And it's based on Greek mythology. It's based on the past. And you look at it, it's a pastiche. As I said, it's a pastiche of different time periods, different film stock, different characters, different acting styles. All this stuff is blended together like a chimera.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Ancient beast. So,
that's true.
It couldn't be a better title.
Yeah, I agree. So, how does the film explore belonging versus displacement? That's a word we haven't used yet.
Yeah, belonging. Well, I think he still belonged to them. These are still his friends.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, he comes back, and and there are moments of tenderness. There's two wonderful long scenes with the troubadour singing, and they're all sitting around drinking, and he's among his people again. Mm-hmm. And even though he's an outsider, he's a British archaeologist that fell in with these, lower class Italians, in the middle of nowhere. But yet he has a kinship with them. Mm-hmm. And so there's belonging there. And he and Flora love each other. I think, she's very much a mother figure in this, even though it's not his mother. They both give each other calm. Mm-hmm. They both give each other something grounded because they're both grieving, as I said, and they're both lost. I mean, she's in this moldering house, and she's in a wheelchair at this point. So, she's sort of on the way out. He has nowhere else to turn to. We never hear about his life back in Britain or when he left. Mm-mm. It's all just mentioned. So, in a way, they kind of all need each other. That's belonging. And but of course, they're all displaced. None of them really have any future. None of them have any solid foundations. Mm-hmm. That's true. At the end, Italia moves out to that abandoned train station at some point when she's found out by Flora. And that's even more derelict. But yet she brings other people to it. Mm-hmm. And it kind of becomes sort of a home for the displaced.
See, now that makes me wonder if Flora may have helped Italia behind her daughter's backs.
I think she was wiser than we think. She played dumb, but she probably knew that girl had two babies back there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Their daughters were all shrews, so she probably recognized, particularly if she recognized that Italia had affection for Arturo, who she worshipped. Mm-hmm. Then, to help them out, the last thing she probably wanted to do is to replace her daughter. But I think she would do anything to give him calm.
Right.
So I think she was wiser than she let on.
But of course we don't know the relationship he had with her daughter. But I think with how much love is between Flora and Arthur, I think they were probably together for such a long time that she thought of him as her son.
It feels like that way because she treats him again like the conquering hero coming home. It's more than just, oh, there's my daughter's boyfriend. There's something
Right.
special. They already
Right.
have a bond that goes
Right.
deep. That's beyond just grief for their missing loved one. Yeah. And again, like you mentioned at the top, we don't know how much time passes. They're very obscure about all that. So we just have to go with the fact these people have a history.
That's right. That's right. Now, talking about the ending once more, did it feel satisfying or deliberately unresolved?
I think deliberately unresolved. And for me, that made it satisfying. I don't think it's one or the other.
That's true.
I like an oblique ending in a film like this. And, if you don't want an oblique ending or obscure ending in an Indiana Jones movie, you want to know that he's going to get out of the earthquake and survive or whatever. But here's a film that's already a chimera. It's already a pastiche of things put together. So I definitely was scratching my head. I remember first time I saw it, I was talking to the person next to me. Was that a cave-in, or did they entrap him, or is he really dead? And we realized there's no answer. There's no answer. He's in this world where he's been both robbing and seeking out. He's been desecrating it at the same time as seeking it out. So it's a very poetic place to end up.
That's right.
And maybe he does escape, and at the end, because we see sunlight, but the fact we see her and we assume she's dead, and we see the yarn, the thread, which we know is symbolism, feels like it's somewhere else other than reality. But, maybe it's the sunlight and it's streaming in. I think all of those answers are the filmmaker wants you to go to the pub afterwards and talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. But now that I'm thinking about it, he's pulling that string and all of that dirt is slowly coming out and he sees the light. I genuinely think that because of that, it caves in and he ends up dying down there and then he goes back to her. That does make sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, and maybe even the light could be, if you want to be really Christian about it, could be the light.
Right.
It doesn't have to even be the light of the outside, but it is the afterlife.
Right.
That might be too on the nose, but something happened down there that transported him back to this world.
Yes.
We can believe that it's death. We've been even seeing visions of her all the way through, so we could just get in a flashback too.
That's true.
The next scene, those guys wanted to get him out, they probably could.
Oh yeah.
He was only like 5 feet down below in a construction site.
Yeah.
They had a backhoe right there.
Right.
They could have kept digging.
But then again, if you look at who these guys are, they're pretty scummy.
They were slime balls. Slime balls. But what do they get out of killing this guy? If he's got the divining rod and he's got the gift,
That's true.
Revenge? Was it revenge? You think they want this guy? I don't know.
Because we don't know the relationship between that group of grave robbers and them, too, if you think about it that way.
Yeah. Well, obviously, they're the ones who were faking themselves as the cops.
Exactly.
So they're obviously antagonistic towards one another. So, but again, why kill Arturo? He's the leader, I suppose. But why take him out if he can get them rich?
Right.
They stole this group of tomb robbers' greatest asset, their leader.
Right.
So why would they knock him off in the next scene?
Right. That makes sense.
They're these rhetorical questions.
Right.
I don't think there's an answer.
Right. Everything is up for interpretation with this movie, and that's one of the beauties of it.
Yeah, and that's why I love it, and that's why I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, and I see things every time. And sometimes no, I had it wrong last time, because it's a film that gives up its secret slowly.
Which I think that's why you watch movies over and over and over, because every time you see something different or you see something new that you didn't see on the previous time.
Yeah, and that's why he does this in scene 16 or whatever.
Absolutely. So we're going to get to the fun segment. So
it's a fun segment. Okay.
Yes. So I like to call this segment Popcorn Roulette. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you can give a long answer, a short answer. One person I got some short answers out of. Most of the time people get long answers. It just depends on what the question is, I guess.
Fair enough.
But so the first question is, which single image from the movie stuck with you the most?
I think that image, it's like a lot of images are popping in my head. The image where they first go in that tomb and they pop in and his light comes down there and you're in this Etruscan tomb and everything lights up and it becomes this set. It kind of took my breath away when I saw it on the big screen the first time, because it's so transporting.
I agree. I actually liked the festival.
The festival was fun too.
I did
yeah.
like the festival, but then again, I like seeing that kind of stuff, seeing culture and seeing how things are in certain cultures. I like seeing that kind of stuff, so I think that's kind of what sticks out to me, or at least that was the first one that popped into my head.
And I remember, it's funny, I have an anecdote on that because I remember they actually were shooting at a real festival and they just brought the cameras. So when they were burning that bonfire, people were dressed up. A lot of them were actually in the middle of their Epiphany Festival. And the filmmakers just tagged along because we met a bunch of people when we were there who said, "Oh yeah, I was in the film. I was at the bottom." You couldn't recognize them all, but so that wasn't staged. That was actually a festival.
That's really cool. That kind of reminds me of that one scene in Rocky where he's just running down the road, where all of those people were real people, and there was a guy that tossed him an apple, and he was an actual homeless guy or something.
Oh really?
Or an actual guy that tossed him that apple. You know,
nice.
it was,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think that's what that makes me think of. Would you join the Tombaroli for adventure or stay far away?
I wouldn't treat relics like that. No. I mean, I guess you could argue, like I mentioned in my story earlier, you could say archaeologists are tomb robbers in some regard too, but I think they do it more scientifically. So
yes.
No, I would stay clear of the ones who are breaking into a tomb and desecrating it.
Yes, yeah.
On purpose.
I agree. I think I would stay away. I would for sure stay away from that because then again, I'm very superstitious when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm very like into like the ghost hunting and that kind of stuff. So I'm like, you mess with that, you better put it back where you found it.
Well, then definitely don't go into the business of tomb robbing if you're superstitious. I'm not a superstitious person, but I think of just.
I'll like go in and look at it, but I won't touch it.
Yeah, I would love to be there when someone finds one of those untouched.
Yes.
I mean, I went to the museums in Tuscany, and there's so many gorgeous Etruscan ruins, and I would love to have seen them when they were in situ. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. What's your favorite dreamlike movie aside from this one?
Dreamlike movie. How do you define dreamlike? Because some films can be dreamlike as well as other stuff.
So, the way I think about it is like a movie that's like plays out like it's real, but it turns out to be a dream state, kind of like how this movie is in a way, I guess. You're kind of like, the main character's kind of like in this dream state, but he doesn't know he's in a dream state. But there's like obvious things. Yeah, and there's like obvious things around him that's like, that's not normal.
Well, it's funny. It's like, I've probably seen lots of films that kind of play with that over the years, but it's funny when you mention it. I probably go back to the first time, maybe the experience you had, where I saw a film that was all dreamlike, and I was 16 or 17 or whatever. I saw David Lynch's first film, Eraserhead. Do you know that?
I don't.
Put that on your list.
I'll put it on the list.
The whole thing is this odd black and white that was shot in like 78. It's a very dark dream, but it's like, is it a dream or not? No, it's not like someone wakes up from it. But the whole thing has this oddball feel that he carried out through all his career, all the film, Twin Peaks and everything he did after that.
I've heard of Twin Peaks, I think.
Yeah, that was a series. Yeah, go back and watch Eraserhead, and then send me a note later and say, WTF ?
Oh, for sure, I'll do that. Oh yeah. So, if you could ask the director one question about this movie, what would it be?
I would like to know what she thinks of the ending. Does Arturo
That's a good
die?
question.
I would like to know if she knocked him off, or because she has probably an opinion.
She probably does, but would she tell you is a different story.
In a way, I don't want to know, but I do, because we all crave closure.
Right.
We want to complete the circle.
Right.
So that would be my question.
Yeah. Okay. So, for the last question, is this a movie to feel or to analyze? Or maybe both?
I don't think it's a one either or. Again, we've done both.
We have.
And it's not a feel movie where my emotions weren't touched. It wasn't like it was a weepy thing or it was high drama. It felt because it transported me, and I felt it was more sort of like this, the movie making made me feel rather than necessarily the emotional
Right.
connections. But here we're analyzing this thing for an hour plus now, and we
Uh-huh.
haven't scratched the surface. So I love films that can do that really
Uh-huh.
get people talking afterwards.
Yeah. It's like we've talked about so much, but like you said, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. I feel like
Right.
there's so much deeper things that we could talk about, but it's like, I'd have to watch it like a few more times.
If you invited somebody else to join us and a third person was here, he or she would have their own take.
Uh-huh.
So
and
it's not like we've sussed anything out.
Just keep going,
Yeah, right.
All right. So I do have one more question. But this isn't really a Popcorn Roulette question. This is just kind of like a trivia type question. So what does Chimera mean in Italian?
It means the same thing. It means La Chimera. It means the Chimera. So the Chimera we talk about, it's we don't, now interesting, there's the play on words. Is it a Chimera, La Chimera, like a chimera in the modern day is a fantasy? Or is it the mythical beast from ancient times, which could be in one of these two?
Because it has multiple meanings, right?
Right. Back in the day, a chimera was a mythological creature, as I said, which never existed by the Greeks, which also were very present in Etruscan times as well.
Right.
I don't know if we saw a chimera in the ruins, I can't remember, or in the tombs or not. But also, the play on words now is so fantastical that it doesn't really exist. So the chimera could be his life, his story. So.
Right. So the description I had is like it means like illusion / unattainable dream.
Yeah, unattainable dream is what a chimera is. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
You can't put these creatures together. Eventually, it's like it's a fantasy of some guy. The same thing. It's like the chimera is like something we're all chasing that just doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So just to kind of wrap things up here, so out of 5 popcorns, what would you rate this movie?
I love this film, which is why I recommend it. It's a 5 for me, and that's
5?
That's a subjective. That's top, right? Yeah.
Right.
It's one of my favorite films the last couple of years. Again, I'm biased because I love this world. I love Italy. I love the time frame, and I love it is very much my bailiwick in a way. but I love films that kind of challenge me and take me there somewhere. So this is a 5 for me.
Okay. I don't know what I would give it. I'd probably give it a 4 or 5 myself.
Okay. You don't have to do that say because you're being nice. You can say 3 if you want. If anyone's
I'd probably
watching,
give it a
it's
4.
Not everyone's cup of tea. And I'm glad that I opened you up to this because I think, there's so many other so many other ways to tell a story beyond what we see in America or Britain.
That's right.
And this is a young filmmaker, I think, female filmmaker, which is rare. And she's telling stories, all her films. I know Lazo, whatever it's called, Happy as Lazo is on Netflix right now. So you can watch a few minutes of that and see the same style there. And she's definitely very, very big right now. So you'll probably see more from her. It's a new generation of storytellers, which is exciting.
Which that's the whole point of my podcast too, is to kind of dive into movies that I wouldn't normally watch on my own, and to kind of experience things that I wouldn't experience on my own, and to just share my thoughts on said movies or TV shows. I'm glad and I try to do TV shows too, but I've only ever done one so far.
I'm glad you picked this one because it's one thing. She's not going to go for La Chimera. I think it's too obscure, and it's a fun one to talk about because I've done 3 or 4 podcasts, for example, on Indiana Jones, and people always ask me, what got me into my love of history. I always thought I was going to be a fiction filmmaker, and the films I loved as a kid were the ones that so many kids in my generation loved. The big historical epics that I grew up with: Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Lawrence of Arabia, Seven Samurai. These are my go-to, and I can still watch any of them right now over and over. And they're these big, almost larger-than-life epics about the past. And that's what made me start to love, I think, the past. But then I started backpacking, and said, I'd rather go there than recreate it, in Shepperton Studios. So that's what kind of got me in the documentary slant. But this, in a way, this is not Lawrence of Arabia because it's not that epic. But it still transports me to another world, another time. And that's what that's what my books do. That's what my films do for Geographic. So I'm always trying to transport a reader or a viewer someplace, even if it's in their armchair, they didn't know existed.
Right. And that's what I love about movies and TV shows is like I can just sit down and just transport myself somewhere and just be in the story. Just be in, like it, yeah.
Forget about everything for a while and say, "Oh my God, suddenly I'm in ancient Rome, or suddenly I'm I'm in a small village in Tuscany." It's like, and it's wonderful. It's a great gift.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, which I just recently was on a podcast called Hot Topics, and we discussed why are DVDs dead? And we got to talking about theaters, and since we were talking about getting, like, into the movies, I think that's why I like going to the theater, because you have this big screen, and everything is dark around you, so the only thing you have to focus on is the movie in front of you.
Exactly. And I love, if it's a respectful audience, to share it with somebody else. So you're all living this world together as a vicarious connection. And you can't get that necessarily when you watch it on your big screen TV at home with a dog in your lap, at midnight.
And that's one of the points, if I remember correctly, that I had made in that. But
that's a good one, yeah. You're in that world, yeah.
All right. So I'm going to let you do your plugs and your socials at this time.
Okay,
you can do whatever. The floor's yours.
Okay. Well, I mentioned earlier, I'm a TV producer, but I also have been writing novels, and you can get the novels on Amazon, Primetime Travelers and Primetime Pompeii. And each one is about a TV crew, like myself, that time travels in the past, and theoretically, as I say, to win an Emmy, but they also is a love story. All the characters kind of fall in love. One, you get a chance to fall in love. And there's a mix of queer characters and straight characters and Arab characters. So it's a nice kind of like world mix of people. So it's Primetime Pompeii and then writing Primetime Troy. And they all can be found on Amazon or on my website, which is neillaird.com.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining me for this episode today. I've had a lot of fun talking to you, and I genuinely hope we can do this again sometime.
It is my pleasure. Go watch Eraserhead and then tell me what you think.
I will.
You may not speak to me again. You may not speak to me again. It's weird.
Oh my goodness. All right.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Popcorn Unscripted. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. New episodes drop every Monday and Friday, so be sure to tune in. Until next time, keep your popcorn close and your movie critiques closer. Thanks for listening to Popcorn Unscripted.